So how does that play into our conception of what might be on the other side of a wall where the universe theoretically stops? Hey folks, welcome to the channel. I'm Don. This is Rockin' the Country, where I don't take a dogmatic stance on theology, on atheism, any of it. I just consider topics related to theology pro or con, and I look at the arguments made. I share my thoughts based on all my learning over the decades of life and so on. So welcome to the channel. If you're new, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. That helps move things along. I take a pretty genial stance on things here because even if you disagree with me on things or I disagree with you on things, somehow in society, especially with the influence of social media and what have you, it automatically sort of signals people to be nasty to the other person or to sort of dig their heels in. I don't do that. There's no need to. I'll change my mind. If you make a better argument than me, I'll change my mind. It's just that simple. I'll adopt yours. I don't care who you are or where you're from. If it's a better argument, I'm there. In any case, I've been wanting to do this one for a bit. How the universe is way bigger than you think. And whether you believe in God or whether you don't, it's still one of these things that's like, good Lord, this place is huge.
This is Earth. You live here on this planet somewhere, and everything that you've ever known is located right here. But just how small exactly is Earth when compared to the scale of the entire universe? Let's start by zooming out to where we can see our nearest cosmic neighbor, the Moon. You may think that the Moon is very close to Earth since it dominates our night skies, but in reality the Moon isn't this close to our planet, it's actually about this far away. 384,400 kilometers away from you right now on average. You could fit 30 entire Earths in between this distance, and if you somehow were able to drive a car at a constant 100 kilometers per hour speed, it would take you about 160 days to drive the entire distance. Despite this incredible distance, however, 12 humans have actually set foot here, representing the furthest away that any individual human has ever been away from the Earth, and one of humanity's greatest achievements. This is what the Earth would look like from there if you were standing there with them, and if you wanted to communicate with somebody back at home, it would take a message about 2.5 seconds to travel between you and them, since that's how fast the speed of light can travel at. This is a photo that was taken on Mars, and that tiny dot that you see there is Earth as seen from the Martian surface. On average, Mars is an incredible 225 million kilometers away from Earth, but that distance can be as high as 401 million kilometers. That means that whenever humanity finally...
If you want to convert kilometers to miles, just multiply ballpark by 0.6. It's really like 0.66 or something like that, but 0.6, ballpark it, you've got your mileage.
Gets around to landing a human on the planet, that person will be 986 times further away from Earth than the astronauts who landed on the Moon were. In addition, the time delay for sending a message from Mars back to Earth isn't just 2.5 seconds, it's actually more like 20 minutes each direction, which would render instant communication in the event of an emergency impossible. When we zoom out even further away, we can find the Voyager 1 space probe, which is the furthest away man-made object from Earth. It is currently located 138 AUs from the Earth, AU meaning astronomical unit, which is the distance between the Earth and the Sun, which means that Voyager 1 is 138 times further away from us than the Sun is. At some point on its long voyage, Voyager 1 turned its camera around and took this photograph. It may not look like much at first, but in my opinion, this is the greatest single photograph ever taken in all of human history. This tiny, pale blue dot is Earth, and I don't think that anybody has ever said something as amazing about this as Carl Sagan when he said, "If you look at it, you see a dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever lived out their lives. The aggregate of all our joys and sufferings, thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines. Every hunter and every forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilizations, every king and every peasant, every young couple in love, every hopeful child, every mother and every father, every inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, Every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there, on a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. Voyager 1 is currently traveling at 17 kilometers every single second, but even at that speed, it won't break out of the reach of our solar system for another 30,000 years. Once we go beyond the...
I did a video just recently posted on Carl Sagan's take on that pale blue dot. That's very famous in scientific circles. Even religionists can look at that and say, wow. Anyway.
Solar system, we arrive in our interstellar neighborhood. Here we shift to the light year unit of measurement, which is the distance that light travels in a full Earth year, or about 9.461 trillion kilometers. The star Proxima Centauri here is the closest other star to us other than our Sun, but it's still 4.24 light years away from us. To put that into perspective, if it was heading in the right direction, it would still take Voyager 1 over 70,000 years to reach it. In other words, if you drove your car at 100 kilometers an hour like in our previous example to the moon, it would take over 6 times longer than the entire age of the universe is just to finally get there, and it wouldn't even exist still when you arrived. When we zoom out even further,
the good news is cars are a lot faster now and braking technology is better than it was, but you wouldn't need a brake out there in any case. Yeah, just putting these numbers in perspective is just, yeah, it's too much fun to contemplate.
Further, we can see the entire Milky Way galaxy, inside of which Earth is located right here. This yellow dot is the furthest extent of humanity's radio broadcasts throughout history, which means that any possible aliens who live outside of this range are totally unaware of humanity's presence. It's complete silence outside of this yellow dot as far as we are currently aware, but the entire galaxy spans over 100,000 light years from end to end. There are over 100 billion stars and over 100 billion planets inside of our galaxy. But you have never seen the full glory of the galaxy at night, because 99% of the stars that you can see with the naked eye are limited to this small, tiny region right here. But even this massive galaxy is nothing compared to the rest of what's out there. Zooming out even further and we arrive at the local group of galaxies, a collection of 54 different galaxies that is about 10 million light years across. But zooming out even further and we can see the Virgo supercluster, of which the local group here is just a tiny segment of. There are at least 100 other groups of galaxies just like our own local group inside of here, and the distance from one side to the other is a mind-numbing 110 million light years. But even the massive Virgo supercluster is nothing but a quiet and tiny lobe of the Great Laniakea supercluster, an enormous structure that is home to our galaxy as well as 100,000 other galaxies. The distance from one side to the other is 520 million light years, but from even there we can zoom out all the way to the entire observable universe and see that even the titanic Laniakea supercluster is just a tiny and insignificant part of everything. This is the observable universe, and it contains everything that we know of. It is home to at least 2 trillion different and individual galaxies, which together contain more stars than there are grains of sand on the entire Earth. The distance from Earth to any side of the observable universe is 46.5 billion light years, which means that the entire width is 93 billion light years across. What's perhaps even more interesting, however, is what actually lies beyond the observable universe. Keep in mind that the observable universe is all that we can currently see, and it's entirely possible that the rest of the universe outside of it is vastly larger and more fantastic than we can possibly ever imagine. We simply don't know what else is out there, because the light from these incredibly distant places has not yet had enough time in the universe's history to reach us yet back on Earth. And the light from some places may never reach us at all. Because some parts of space very far away from Earth are expanding away from us faster than the speed of light, that means that the light from these places will never, in an infinite amount of time, reach Earth. meaning that even if humanity is eternal and exists forever, there will still be an unknown number of places in the universe that we will never know about or ever see. So, it is very likely that as unbelievably enormous as it seems, the observable universe is just a tiny slice of what we can currently see of the entire universe. According to the theory of cosmic inflation that was proposed by Dr. Alan Guth, if it is assumed that cosmic inflation began at 10 to the negative 37th of a second after the Big Bang, and with the assumption that the size of the universe before inflation began was equal to its age times the speed of light, then this would seem to suggest that at the present day, the entire universe is 150 sextillion times larger than the observable universe. That number for reference looks like this, with this many zeros. Let this number sink in for just a moment. This would be similar to you thinking that the entire observable universe, everything that you could see, was the size of a light bulb, but then realizing that in reality the entire universe is larger than the former planet of Pluto. Imagine a light bulb in the center of Pluto, but we inside the light bulb were totally unaware that Pluto existed outside of it, and that's a similar situation to this. We are all so unbelievably small, but you shouldn't worry, because all that means is that there is so much left out there for us to discover together.
Yeah. Joe Nichols has a song. He's a country artist. Good dude. The title of the song is Size Matters. And what he's talking about is the size of your heart matters. But in this, size does matter, but there are absolutes and there are relatives, right? And when we look at the size of the universe, I think our awe, I can speak of mine, it's due to the relative size, relative to me, and that's what this whole thing was, the relative size of the universe. But maybe we frame our understanding, I don't want to say flawed, but maybe we rely too heavily on one way of viewing things, one paradigm through which to view it. And if it's instinctual, then fair enough. I mean, we really can't get away from it. But if we can look at it through an absolute sense, then in some ways, size doesn't matter. Okay, I'm 6'1". Fair enough. I mean, the other things, when you look at the size of solar objects and galaxies and such, comparatively or relatively, I'm very tiny. But if we remove the comparisons, then I have an ability to think. You have an ability to think. You have an ability to feel. You have an ability to assess and try putting things in different perspectives as far as what it all means. Theologians go to the place of like, how was God so powerful that he, she, or it made all of this matter in the universe, and why? And is there life out there? Is it just on planet Earth? Atheists still absolute awe and wonder. Einstein wanted to know about the laws of the universe, posited the speed of light at roughly 186,000 miles per second, beyond which no item of mass could travel faster than that. James Webb has found that galaxies are redshifting, like it was intimated in here or stated directly, that there are galaxies traveling away from us faster than the speed of light. And that doesn't seem possible based on Einstein's theories and so on, but nonetheless, yeah, we'll never see them. So even if mankind is eternal, no human being would ever see it. And so what's beyond the observable universe? Is it just more space? What would end space? I'm not even sure what the cosmologists and physicists modeling is to say it could end. It is finite. And I love this stuff. I mean, in many ways, we can only guess. We can say the mathematical models make sense, they're airtight, we love them, and they can be based on false premises. Like Nassim Nicholas Taleb said, what he referred to as silent evidence, or in his book Black Swan, in Fooled by Randomness, but he posits that all it takes is, if your theory is all swans are white, and every observed swan, all 10 million of them that you've seen are white, all it takes is one non-white swan. It could be black, green, blue, red, gray. could be any color but white, and your entire theory is proved wrong. You have to go back to the drawing board. So what would our premises be that would state that the universe is finite? What are, I mean, to me, it makes more sense that it's infinite, because what stops it? What, I mean, you need a wall, but then what would be, in a sense, based on my human knowledge and awareness and experience, but then what would be on the other side of it? What is nothingness? Is nothingness the absence of something, or is it the presence of nothing? And then depending on how you look at that, you might come up with the same result and you might not. It's sort of like, what is zero? You know, for mathematicians, the number zero didn't exist at some point because objects were in the positive, only in the positive. One apple, 2 apples, 3 apples, 4 rocks, 5 rocks, 6 rocks, 7 people, 8 people, 9 people, whatever. It was just on the positive side. And at some point, zero came into play. And I don't know if negative numbers preceded the arrival or the invention of the placeholder zero, but it has played a huge part in mathematical modeling. So how does that play into our conception of what might be on the other side of a wall where the universe theoretically stops? Is zero the absence of numbering? Is it the absence of something, or is it the presence of nothing? And obviously it would take a lot of minds together to figure that out, and many have, and they've posited their theories, and they may be useless. But it's fun to ponder the size, the relative size of things, the distances traveled. And distance is a funny concept in and of itself too, but that's a different issue. Well, if you made it this far, thanks, folks. I hope you enjoyed that. This stuff is just mind-blowing to conceptualize. Whether you're an atheist, whether you believe in God, or whether you're unsure, it doesn't matter. This stuff is still mind-blowing. So there it is. Subscribe if you haven't. That'd be wonderful. Have a great day. I'll see you on another video, and keep thinking theology.